Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The stage is set for the panel discussion. I'm Rashmi. I'm a product researcher and designer from Trademarkia, and I will be the moderator for this panel. So before I can introduce the panelists for the day, I have a quick question for you. You see a QR code here, right? So I request you to grab your phones and quickly scan it. And there's a question for you, and I just want to do a quick head count. How many developers do we have in this crowd? Developers. Okay, that's a huge crowd. Okay. Can I hear it for the developers? Can I hear it from you? Okay, how many designers in the crowd? Okay, that's a fairly good number. Okay, so yeah, you got the question? Now, as you fill up the question, answer the question, let me introduce all the panelists here. The first panelist for the day, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Lawanya Ramachandran. She is a product designer at Udemy with masters in physical product design. She brings with her 8 years of experience. In her previous role, she has crafted products for users from Africa, Japan, and Southeast Asia. She is into botanical art, and if you're somebody into art, you need to follow her Instagram page. And she loves exploring exotic flora and fauna. Let's give a big round of applause for her, ladies and gentlemen. The second panelist for the day, Bhaarath Vijay. He is the lead product designer at Lyric AI, which is an enterprise AI supply chain decision intelligence. He brings with him 10 plus years of experience. He is a founder of Clan Community, which believes in the motto, get uncomfortable, and also believes in the concept of safe space. Please give a big round of applause to Bhaarath Vijay. The next panelist, Somasundaram Mahesh, an Android developer at India's leading OTT platform, brings with him 9 plus years of experience. He's a household name in GDG. He is from being an attendee to volunteer and to leading this community since 2016. That's Somasundaram Mahesh for you, who is also a board game enthusiast. Let's give it up for Somasundaram Mahesh. The fourth panelist for the day, Kanchan Kumar. He's currently crafting product experiences in hospitality sector. His portfolio includes big names like Disney, Marriott, and brings with him a decade of experience in product design, especially in the B2B space. And he's an ardent Dhoni fan. Any Dhoni fans in the crowd here? Yeah, and he's a percussionist in the making. Can we give it up for Kanchan Kumar? The fifth panelist here, Nasser Ahmed. He's a lead UI designer with a decade of experience, currently heading a design team of 25 at Lollypop Design Studio. He's led award-winning projects for clients like ACT and initiated successful programs like Lollipop Academy and Design AT. And he believes in the concept of functional aesthetics. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Nasser Ahmed. Okay. So let's go to the question. How would you describe your relationship with your designers or developers? Okay, we've got some 155 responses. Okay, Tom and Jerry, that's perfectly describes a relationship, and that's exactly why we have this panel discussion here, because yes, there's always this one person who is running ahead with ideas, prototypes, wireframes, and the other one is chasing them. So yeah, it's chaotic, it's pretty violent, but at the same time, we realize that we can't live without each other. Yeah, so who gave the Tom and Jerry response? Who's response? Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, so, well, we'll get the panel discussion started. So before we go to the discussion, I have a quick question for everybody here, okay? So the first question is, okay, Lavanya, tell me one quality that you like the most in your in your developer, and the one quality that you hate the most in your developer.
Okay, the one quality that I like in designer is like in developer, right? Going extra mile to make that, the feature or any delivery possible, going into extra detail. So that is something that I like. The one I do not like is the working in solo, like solitude, like you come and deliver only at the time of implementations or only when there is a demo, and not having any, interim collaboration between the designer and dev, yeah.
Okay. Now, the question to Somasundaram Mahesh. So, can you tell me one quality that you like the most in a designer and you hate the most in your designer?
Okay. I like the most in the designer is he has the freedom to think without the implementation details and how the services work, which API is coming from where, and all of those. So he can design in a freedom way. The dislike, there are bunch of things, and I would say like the same point becomes a negative. Like he would put it on a Figma and call it a day, but we know how many APIs to hit it and how many services to hit it, how many things to scale and scale down. So yeah.
Okay, so Bharat, the question to you, again, the same thing that I asked to Lavanya. One quality that you like the most in your developer and you hate the most in a developer.
Developer. I think they are functionally very good. I mean, like, they sometimes they see how to solve the problem. They are mostly night owls. So they dedicate, if they have any tasks, they just go deep down it, they do it, right? And one thing what I don't like them is like, they're very technical. They're kind of hesitant to go into other worlds people understand, mainly from the designer, speaking from the designer perspective. They're not ready to engage, embrace the designer world to understand better. That's something I've noticed in my past experience. That's what I think, yeah.
Okay, I think all the responses captures the essence of the relationship between a designer and developer, and of course the response from the audience. So we'll be talking about that. Before that, I have one question for Nazir. Is there a fiction? If I tell you the fictional character which you would associate with designer-developer relationship?
A fictional character for a designer and developer relationship. I think I'll have Thanos as a fictional character, because when you have those 5 gems, you become powerful, right? So I think there are some 5 qualities, like being proactive and being communicative and a proper handoff. You know, I don't have 5 top qualities in my mind, but when you got this 5 qualities, I think you become successful.
Okay, the same question to Kanchan.
So I would define it like a Captain America and an Iron Man Civil War kind of a situation, right? So both are alphas in their own way, and they come up with different perspectives fighting for the same cause, which is basically the product.
Okay, with that, to kick things off, let's talk about the collaboration. Okay, now why is this relationship between a designer and developer very important, and what is at stake if this is going to be rocky? I want to ask that question to Bharat.
Thanks, Rashmi. To start with, this collaboration is necessity. Why? Because as a company, as a digital product, your end game is working towards a common goal, which is a product, right? And for the product to be successful, the collaboration is essential for any kind of stakeholders, right? For me personally, why I would say designers and developers is very important, because a designer's dream becomes a true vision when a developer implements it, right? And that's exactly what a user is going to use the product. The experience is something, it doesn't only happen from the designer, it also happens when a developer also engages, understands the product better, and it comes together, right? So that's why this collaboration is very important. Just add one more, I just want to bring in an analogy to make things little more complex. Let's say take a building, a beautiful building, right? Let's say it's an amazing, for example, this beautiful auditorium by IITM Research Park. How many efforts, how many time, or like how many efforts would have gone in designing this system, this entire space, and also engineering doing it, right? So it's not like, there's a design and there's a foundation happen, and you have to continue from there, right? You cannot change in between, because there's a cost involved, there's a lot of things involved, right? End of the day, like you have to satisfy the customer need who are paying money for you, right? And in the construction world, this is like huge. They have to make sure that they collaborate together well. But the problem with the digital product perspective, there's a kind of slight lethargic where, we can do this anytime we want, right? And that attitude is a problem. And to resolve that problem, definitely like collaboration between, mainly for designers and developers, is very, very crucial actually, yeah.
Okay. That's a beautiful point. Now, a quick question to the audience, especially the developers in the crowd. So how many of you have a rocky relationship with your designers? Just be very honest. Please put your hands up. One here. Well done. Everybody else has a very smooth relationship. Honest guys. Hey, அவர் சொன்ன பாயிண்ட்க்கு பயங்கரமா சவுண்ட்லாம் வந்தது.
We just
Okay.
can't.
Then it's really glad. We can just leave, I think, actually.
ஆனா அந்த கொஸ்டனுக்கு பயங்கரமா
இல்ல,
sound
நிறைய வாட்டி சொல்லி பார்த்தாச்சு, எதுவும் நடக்கல, அதனால யாரும் பார்த்துக்கல.
No, I think it is making us feel old. I think gone are those generations where we were fighting for that.
Nothing to worry now.
Okay, so we'll cover all aspects of how to strengthen this relationship, and one important factor to begin with is the organizational culture. So I would want to ask that question to Lavanya. How do you think, we all know that organizational cultures can break or make this relationship, it can foster or dampen. So what's your take on organizational culture shaping the relationship?
Right. So organization culture is one of like a decision parameter for me whenever I apply for an organization. It took me years to understand that the organization culture plays an important role for an individual who's working in that organization. Like it also helps you to grow personally as well as in terms of career perspective. I'm telling this because people are different, right? Like they all come with a different set of biases and experience and technical skill. And when there is always a power in place, we'll try to, cut short down. It's a kind of a human behavior that happens. So let's say that if 3 or 4 members are working in a project, there will be definitely a conflict of conflicts that would rise. And if there is no particular rules or like someone who can resolve that conflicts, then you're not working towards the goal. It's just like group of people in a big boss house. We just stay there in the organization just to spend the days, and we are not doing anything productive. So this organization culture is basically a set of shared beliefs, and usually it will be aligned with the brand values that, whenever an organization is set it up, when they set the brand, they also set these cultural values so that the employees within the organization kind of follows that. So at any point of time when there is a conflict that happens, they usually refer this, vision and mission to follow that. And this I've seen personally helped in my past and current organization as well. In my past organization, there used to be like 4 pillars, which we call like ambition, curiosity, innovation, and inclusivity. And they usually set us goals, like saying that, every year, are you progressing in any of the 4 pillars? So this helped me individually as well. Like when I'm working on a project, like what is the take for me? What is the take for the organization? So those kind of, out of the technical or like whatever like we are passionate about design or dev visit, this makes us a person to collaborate with another individual. Same even in the current organization, we have this phrase like individually humble, collectively proud. So it takes about like, when you're working, you should give the credits to everyone. While you're working, just lower your attitude and work towards the product, right? So I believe this organization culture is important. And even like as a person, like when you are applying for an organization, look into this. And even while you're doing an onboarding, you'll be given these kind of, most of us will skip those onboarding courses. Please give a thought about it, and that actually helps you grow as an individual as well.
Yeah, great points. Now, again, another question to you. When we talk about organizational culture, culture isn't something that's built in a day. It's created by people. So when we talk about people, the point where we bring in people matters. So how can we look for collaborative mindsets during hiring? Especially for designers.
Right. So in terms of designers, it varies based on the level. So there is junior level and then the senior level. For junior, what we really look for is the curiosity and passion. Like, what do they want? Because they're all in the beginning of their career. They wanted to do a hard work and they wanted to grow into that career. So we look into that passion and curiosity, and the technical aspect of it usually be lesser. They can learn while they're in the job, but we wanted to see whether they have that thrive for it. In terms of senior, the most important factor is the collaboration. Because when it comes to designer, basically designer collaborates with different stakeholders and produce the screens, right? It's not just a one person designing there. They work with the product manager, clients, and then the customers, and then they give it to you. So how they collaborate with each people is depending on their ability to talk or communicate. So when I mean communication, it's not just English or like whatever language it is, but are they able to articulate what the thoughts are? Are they able to pick the ideas in the groups, right? So we see into that kind of element. So we conduct this whiteboarding session or like design thinking workshop. We ask them to invite people and then conduct a workshop, and we'll see that one. And the third comes the technical one. Like obviously technical, based on that we screen the profiles. So these 3 parameters, we look into it so that when they come into the organization, they follow the cultural values, they follow the team, they respect the team, and then contribute accordingly. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to
Yeah,
add a point here to the previous question, the organizational culture. I think as a designer, how much effort you put in terms of building a process, and you can take it to a certain extent. But only when the work culture is great, the great product comes out. So I think organizational culture values definitely matters. For example, like you can do a retrospect. I work in an agency, so after every project we do a retrospect with the development team as well. So what went wrong and what could have been addressed better. So we take that to the next project. So there are a few things that you can consider. So organizational, definitely that the culture plays a major role.
Yeah, so I want to continue from what Lavanya had mentioned. She spoke about hiring for designers. Now, Somu, I want to come to you and ask, is the same parameter, that is a collaborative mindset, do we apply the same parameter when we do the hiring for developers, or how can developers inculcate the same mindset?
Okay. Yeah, there are parameters, but I would say it largely differs from organization standpoint. So if you are working at a startup, it might be very less, where things are very critical and you have to push out builds every day. So there, it might not make sense for waiting for a person who is more collaborative and all of those. It would be automatically aligned towards a person who ships every day. So, but on a large-scale industry, it would be of course, we have behavioral rounds and other things which would take care of all of these parameters. And also, even in startups, there are a bunch of developers who had no design document at all, and they were asked to design the entire website. I know a lot of developers who have done that. They would say like, we don't have any design, just refer to the other website and just give me a clone of it. Obviously, a kind of innovation and other things also a developer gets into it. So yeah, that's how it is.
I'll just add one point there. With respect to hiring designers, developers, both are going to say, the answer is going to be the same, but I'll talk from the startup perspective, right? See, one of the biggest thing what startup does is like, because they are faster. Startup works faster because they want to make sure the release happens every month. Not even every month, like sometimes every 2 weeks or weekly once. As a lyric, we are pushing for every 2 weeks actually, right? So the thing is like, what happens is they mostly functional things go out first, right? And to do functional things first, we need a lot of developers. And designer need is kind of less at that moment, right? And what happens when a designer is getting hired and the developer also getting hired, the collaboration, generally, this also kind of touches the organizational culture. What happens is, designers has to compromise a lot. Because even as a designer, I need to be ready to compromise, hey, what is the motive of the business right now? We have to bring customers. For that, we need a proper functional product in the market, right? So we are hiring a lot of engineers first, right? And when hiring engineers, we also make sure, hey, how do we test a little bit, not mandatory thing, but a small checklist. So what I'm saying is, can we engage with that particular developer, bring them to an office before hiring the candidate? Before hiring them, can we just invite them to the office, spend a day with the entire team, right? Right? We are remote, right? We kind of assemble to office because a candidate is coming. And that's why I'm saying organization, this collaboration should come from org level is very crucial at the starting point of any company. When a company is getting started and we are establishing the culture, the first founding people, me being a founding designer, I don't only talk to designers, I also spoke with developers selling the company, right? And so when speaking with them, I also kind of understood where they are coming from, are they collaborative or not, and then I'll share my points. End of the day, it's going to be the business decision of making sure that hiring, but generally like, as I said, like technically strong, you are in, right? But the collaborative is like an extra check, like an added advantage. I think it's very important that every startup starts seeing in that particular perspective, yeah.
Thanks for those points. So we've covered collaboration, organizational culture, hiring. Now let's shift gears. Okay, so the next topic I'm going to dive into is, I'll tell you. I went and asked one of my developers, what is the one thing that you get annoyed about designers? Okay, he told me that not understanding how front end works or how the data works and all that. So that brings us to this topic of learning the other language. Okay, like because designers think think in pixels and developers think in terms of code. So how important it is to understand the other language or learn the other language. So I want to ask that question to Nazir.
I think that's a very good question, Rashmi. So I'll give my life story here. So I was in Vietnam for 6 months. So when I went there, I don't speak Vietnamese, I don't understand Vietnamese. So it was very difficult for me to navigate across the city and ask for any help, or that's because I don't understand the language. So the empathize has to come from my end, that I should learn something that to understand. So I think the same analogy applies to the dev and design as well. It goes both ways. But for designers, it's more, I guess. Yeah, so we also have these sessions in our organization that mostly for freshers, understanding the terminologies. So it is mix of both design and development. So you learn that language, because end of the day it is when you communicate with these terminologies, for example, backend, API, if you know what API or how does API works. So when you talk in these language to the developers or the other stakeholders, it makes you look professional. So the other person believes that, okay, he knows something. So he knows what he's doing. So these are a few things that, yeah, we can, learning the other stakeholders' language is really important.
Kanchan, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I would like to explore on the root aspects of that very basic question that you asked, right? So we have lost the basic art of communication, that's mirroring. So nowadays people don't actually mirror a lot. That's basically, imitating. When two people are talking, one person is like unconsciously imitating you, and without any, any external factors, they build a strong connection. And that's the very essence when rapport is built, right? So I think it comes from there. And from the designer aspect, it's good to have the basic knowledge on how layouts work, how grid layouts work, how columns and rows work. And coming from me myself, a developer turned designer, helped me to openly share my thoughts. And when developers face blocks, and so it kind of helped me provide an environment where I would be sitting together with them, and we'll be having open conversations. Hey, show me your code, show me your JavaScript. So what is your condition dealing with? And if I'm able to provide a bit of a logical reasoning to it, and there are instances where we have done that, and developer, yeah, okay, okay, thanks for the idea. So even he is running behind a lot of factors. Of course, time is the major constraint for a developer. So when he comes out from his comfort space and shares it with others. So that's why. So coming back to your question, yeah. So to be precise on the factors, like basically knowing a bit of high-level knowledge on HTML, CSS, and how API works is a great advantage to any designer.
I'll just take another 30 seconds. For example, that single API. We've been talking about API, right? I don't know how many designers. Let's say designers designing a page. Like let's take a form, right? I have like name, address, phone number, everything, right? And then I say submit button. And like, so basically there's something called as like single API versus multiple hits, right? One thing what I did is like, in my past, in my previous company, I designed a form, name, same, almost very similar form. And then I had the submit button at the last, right? And then, so basically like as a developer, I believe you'll build a JSON out of it, and then you send everything in one single API, right? That's what I did. And but the kind of architecture they did is basically like, as soon as I enter name, it just saves him instantly, right? This is something I didn't know at that moment. So I designed the entire thing, and then I took it to them, and then say, we can do better. They said we can do better, because instead of making them, why this is better designed? Because let's say in a big form, I enter a lot of things, and I just close the tab, it just goes away, right? So instead of this single hit API is very, very useful, and I got to learn about this from the developers, right? So this is because I started understanding their language, and they were ready to help me out in understanding when I presented the design. So I think it's very important, as Kanchan and Nazir is saying, as a designer, this is where exactly the collaboration comes into the picture, right? So I think that's the next topic, Rashmi.
Yeah, so beautiful analogy from all three of them. So moving forward, I just want to explore how we'll be collaborating in the process. Okay, so the next question is about timing. So how important it is to involve developers early, especially in the product ideation phase. I want to ask that question to Somasundaram.
Okay. It's better to be there from the start. The developers can be there from the start, so that the developers will also know that there have been multiple iterations that went through the design phase, and then we came up with this final design. So that, but if the developer is not involved, it looks like you guys came up with this design all of a sudden, and now we are pushing towards that. It would be, so the developer will also get the idea why this is the final design and why we didn't consider other things, so that the product will look much better and it will be much efficient, right? So it's the developer should be from the start, and but what happens is like at most companies they don't have the luxury, or the developers would automatically start declining meetings with the designers, because they already have another part of things that are already going on, like the things that they have already shipped is having a issue on the live board, and then something that has to go release on next Monday is waiting. Out of this, I have to come to a design meeting, which I'm going to work like 3 months passed away. So that is what the developer will face, and that is the most common reason he would automatically start declining design meetings.
Som also declined a lot of this panel meetings.
Yeah, of course. It's not intentional, but
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really declined a lot of meetings for this particular panel discussion. And
Actually, I kind of have a different take on that, actually.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So the question was how is it good to have the designer
Involve developers early in the...
Involve early, right? So I would say it's better to involve early, but not very early. It's coming from a personal experience. At least, sorry, Somu. So at least till your lo-fi wireframes are ready, I would normally refrain in involving them. Why I say is that, of course, the high-level requirements would be shared to both of the parties, and they will have a fair sense what is going to come. So only they will have to design the API calls and the database design. So those aspects is what they will be deciding based on the wireframe. So the moment before solutioning part, I involve both of the parties and sit together. They tend to, put their constraints on us, and it kind of restricts our ideation process. So I've tried doing that, bring all together and start with the ideation phase even before going into the tool, but that has never worked. So I make sure that I at least have a single unique layout and then go to the developer.
Lavanya, you want to add something to that?
Yes, so I'll tell like why we should have engineers involved at the early stage. So it doesn't have to be the entire engineering team, but someone, a tech person, a tech lead from the team can participate. And the reason being is when it is in earlier stage, so when we get ideas, so if you see the format of ideation workshop itself, we'll be inviting people from, the one who facilitates will be designer, but they won't be contributing the design, the ideas. So we will be inviting other stakeholders to put out the ideas. So the engineers also would be putting the ideas there, the one who's representing the engineering team. And there is this kind of a practice that we do, which we call as a prioritization practice. So we'll collect all the ideas. So the purpose of this ideation is to bring out as many ideas as possible, whether it's feasible or non-feasible. So we want them to think beyond this constraint and everything. Even it could be like a robot coming and serving food to the people, right? If it is not even possible, we'll still bring that idea. And then what we'll do is, we'll do this exercise with the engineering as well as the management team to prioritize based on their effort. That is, from engineering perspective, I'll ask them, what do you think, whether is it feasible or not feasible? Just put those pointers according to each quadrant. And then we'll pick up the ideas that are easily built in a shorter period of time, which has a higher user impact. So this way, the engineers will know that, okay, we are building something as an MVP, but in the future, they have this idea in the later stage. So as a designer and engineer, will be prepared for the future vision, yet designing for the MVP. So let's say that in this page, it's going to evolve to like, simple file upload is going to have like a scanner upload. Like, just scan the document and then you retrieve the text to the, whatever, like image to text. And that is the future vision. But right now, we are just going to upload the photos. So then the engineering will be preparing their tech according to that. And as a designer, I'll have to make sure that this particular component is going to be translating for that purpose. So that's why if during this stage, if we involve these engineers, they will be able to think from the futuristic way, and me as a designer can think it design in a sustainable way.
Yeah, thanks for those points. And a quick question to the developers in the crowd. So how many of you skip meetings, especially the product ideation meetings? One there. Please be honest. Anybody else? One there. Yeah, one there. Hey, மற்றவங்க எல்லாருமே மீட்டிங் போயிடுவீங்களா கரெக்டாக ப்ராடக்ட் ஐடியேஷன் மீட்டிங்லாம் ஓகே வில் சி
கூப்பிட்டா போவாங்க இவங்க மேலே I don't think it's only the problem of developers, right? Definitely, like on the other side, like PM, they have to make sure, hey, these people have to work together. So I cannot, any PM said that, I hope they don't get offended. It's also their job to make sure that the developers and design interact, right? So.
And I think that's where the organizational culture also comes into picture.
Like no matter where there are so many divergences, one point of convergence is PM. That is something that I think the crowd will also agree with it. Okay. Yeah. So we have another question for the crowd. Can we go to the next question here on the screen? So developers, what's your important pain point in relationship with your designers? So yeah. Bad design handoff with 16, technical feasibility with 38, working in silos 6, and not communicating effectively 23. Okay, so now that is going to bring us to the next topic, which is handoff, which is a very tricky part in the entire collaboration. So I want to ask that question to Nazir. So like, what are the common mistakes or pitfalls to avoid in design handoff?
Okay. When I started my career, right, in 2014, Photoshop was the only tool that we used to create designs, and even the handoff happens through Photoshop. We used to create slices and exporting them into PNGs. If it is an Android, you have to convert into 4 different, one single asset into 4 different formats, which eventually for all the screens, imagine that how many number of assets that we used to export. Now I think Figma has revolutionized the way we collaborate with the developers. It has made our lives more simpler for both designers and developers. But somewhere we lack, again, it comes to empathizing. So as a designer, we say empathize, we empathize with the users. I think as a designer, we have to empathize with other stakeholders, including the developers as well. For example, even before I start designing something, or even if I had an idea or something, first I look for references, if that is already being implemented or not, so that it makes my developer's life easier. I collect as much as references as possible. I'll go and show it to the developer. Is it something possible that we can achieve this kind of animations or interactions and whatnot? So I think that is where the initial thing starts. And also create some kind of a checklist with you, or if you're a developer, send those checklists to the designers. Like, these are the things that I require when you hand off. And mutually agree that this is what we are going to deliver. Also, one thing that we also do is annotating. Even if you have a prototype, fully functional or workable prototype, somewhere the flow could be missed. Annotating every scenarios, edge cases, use cases, I think that helps a lot for a developer to look at a product level rather than going into a screen level. Also, sorry, I was talking about annotations, IA. IA helps them to see from a product perspective rather than going into each and every screen. So these are a few things that we can consider.
Kanchan, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, so I want to get into the specifics of it. Now you're saying, as Aziz told, Figma has revolutionized the entire game, right? Back in those days when Photoshop used to slice and we'll have to manually document each specs and scenarios. Now, with the luxury of these tools, we kind of have an attitude that the tools might take care, and we miss a lot of things. So coming to the end of practices, of course, the basics, any discipline a designer has to follow, right? So proper naming and organizing of your design systems. And now with the evolution of technologies where your Figma libraries are directly integrated with your GitHubs, right? So of course, this tokening and variables is another picking up topic, and when even your frames have to be named very properly. So, and asset management is a nightmare for any developer. So make sure that if your product is SVG first, you have your SVG files ready, and your backup assets, the alternative formats of PNGs in all three formats. And I would say there are a lot of annoying things for a developer and during handling shadows or gradients. So one story that I would like to share is like in Figma you have a luxury, you can create a very smooth shadows with blurs and spreads. It does not work the same way in HTML. So of course a bit of, as we explored in the previous topic, a bit of knowledge on the code helps us. So kind of you can give a native format how the CSS will be applied in the shadow format. So you can do your research and give a reference to the developer so that the exact shadow is replicated from the Figma. And in terms of gradient, in Figma it is easily to normally play around with the gradient stick. You can even extend beyond that container and play around, but it doesn't work that way in the code. So in actual HTML, in the DOM, it is actually the gradient is restricted to the particular container. So these are some things the developer, I got educated from the developer. So make sure that you do your homework on these kind of things, and even animations are a very complex thing, right? So now we have, of course, the JSON format picking up, but when dealing with micro interactions, better if we can document all the eSyn effects, speed, and your delays and everything.
So my next question would be to Somu. So what are the bad design handoffs that you receive, from a designer? And I also want to ask about the design systems, because my developers call my design Figma files, they call it as 50 shades of gray, because that's how it is. So I want to ask how, what exactly goes in your mind when you see our Figma files?
Okay. I have seen a lot of Figma files which have been handed over to me. There are, firstly, where are the design systems? So I can see screens, but where are they coming from? I can see colors, but what is the primary color? These things are there. And also, I'm not much familiar with the Figma tool as such, but at least I know that there is something called a component. But where are the components in the screen, right? So these things are there for the designers to take it to the next level, but designers all the designers are not utilizing it or not doing it for some reason or other. There are multiple reasons to it. When I ask them, they give me the reasons. But if it is all taken care, the lives of the developers would be much more easier. So you say that blue is the primary color, and we use blue everywhere. And all of a sudden, you see an uptick on the like a checkout page when you change the blue button color into an yellow. So you suddenly decided to make it yellow, but then it has to sit in the the design system, right, somewhere. But that is not there. Just in the screen, that button is yellow. So that's where things get very complicated, and then we will have to create a button variant, and we will have to name it ourselves. If you have given a name, we would have easily used that. Now we also, rather than writing the code, we also have to think about variable names and then the button names and so on. It gets too complicated when it happens at a very large scale. So if things are if you are using material design or anything, then most of the things are already taken care, and it would be easy for us to follow. But when you decide you want to have things in your custom designs, better give it in the right way so that it's easy for everyone. Yeah, that's what.
And for the right way, you have to work with developers.
Sorry?
I mean, for the right way, designers have to work with the developers.
Yeah, work with the developers or at least follow the best guidelines that you already have on your system. And firstly, I have also seen that there are problems within the designers and they don't agree on a certain design system and they don't have it unique. When this guy designs, I get something from this design system. When he designs, it's coming from another design system. So first, solve the problem inside yourselves and then come with developers. Yeah.
So what do you think? The old days are better or now it's better?
Old days as in?
I mean the Photoshop days.
Photoshop days, it was better. At least we just had to deal with so when for me, blue is blue, but for you, it's a total different. Only when you explain me that this is a light blue and this is a dark blue,
exactly.
That's when I learn about it, right? So you have to tell me that this is a blue, but this is not the code that we have used. Only then I will go and fix it. Else your design system has to speak that language. Yeah.
100% with you, Somo, right? So what I was trying to understand is see, as I said, designers are not technical folks. For example, Kanchan was talking about tokens, variables, aliasing. These are very complex things. For us, we know naming the frame and naming the component. That's it. So that's what I was asking. Probably, for example, you said a very good example like material design system, right? So but not all the organizations are using it fully, honestly. For example, carbon design system or anything,
correct,
right? There will be certain complexities will be there when we go into customization, right? And see, as a designer, I can definitely put I can go into my own journey of understanding those things and then coming back to you, right? I mean, or it could be hey, 1 hour call, just sit together, right? Can we just see how to do this? Because end of the day, what I see is, if I spend a lot of time working together just for 1 hour, I can save a lot of my time. I can also save a lot of your time. And we can be productive in other time, right? That's what I'm coming
at. It has also worked like this. So we come up with an entire screen design and then we sit on a call for a review. And for me, changing that blue color into whatever blue that you say is going to take a couple of minutes. So if we agree on that call and solve it then and there, it's going to be solved. Yeah.
I'll agree with Somo on this, the organizational part, making your files more organizing. I think that's a very basic thing that any designer can do. I think it falls under us so that we make our files very clear, no matter, it's not just for the developers, for the other stakeholders as well. So whoever opens the file, they can navigate across the file and see where it has started and where are we now. So I think.
And they also don't at least what I heard from developers saying is, bro, you are designing something, I'm implementing. After 3 years, I come and see the design has changed.
Yeah. Not even 3 years. It has happened so I'll be implementing things and when I see that there is some edge case or something that is missed and I go to the designer and say, this is missed. Oh, he will be like, oh, that is missed. Okay, put it like this. He will go. On Figma, you can drag and drop like this and go. But for me, the entire thing will change.
100% with you. I can be totally empathize with you. Sorry for that.
See, one more thing, sticking with libraries, right? So I'm going through this daily actually. So, and they use it as a weapon, most developers, right? So when we try to fix some business problems and when we try to give solutions to particular components and they would come up with an easy thing, right? This library doesn't support that. For example, material, right? Even a drop down you cannot place it. So, how do you kind of handle that?
Okay. That is something I wouldn't agree. There are different ways to look at it. Say for example, if the product demands you a certain design, for example, the famous credit card app that we all use, right? They demand an totally different design system, right? So then the developer is open to explore the other possibilities, draw the things on the canvas, try to bring that gradient. They go to the next level and they do. But when you want that single component alone to look differently and animate in a different level when the whole app is not like that, it doesn't make sense for the developer. So firstly, if you think really it is useful for the user, the developer will also has to agree on that. He has to build that trust. You are saying something, he has to have that trust on believing you and blindly going on that. So that is something the developers has to improve. I agree on that. Yeah.
We are building very good collaboration.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think there's so much of fuming on design systems, and I want to ask the audience, how many of you have been traumatized by inconsistent design systems? Developers? Okay, okay, the trauma is real, guilty as charged. Okay, so moving to the next topic. So yeah, I want to ask this question to Somu. So how important is it for designers to be involved in the implementation phase, like during development? Let's say staging or testing and other processes.
Sure. We might have focused a lot on the implementation, and we would have went back on the deadline and we would have delivered it, but we would have missed all your tiny things that you have put a lot of effort on designing that, and we would have missed it. So something that you have an call or an review on the staging environment every now and then, and pointing out this is not right and these are not yet fixed, that would help the developers to fix it easily. Most of the cases are it's not a total change. Small things are missed. The font is missed. The colors are gradients are missing. Shadows are missing. So those can be easily covered if you review it in a daily basis or something like that. But when you take it at the last, after you did not do review for a long time, and once it hits the production and then you make it a review, then it becomes harder. So I would say do the mirroring that you do on an at an early stage of the implementation, so that it's easy for the developers also to align with it.
Yeah. So Bhaarath, can we go to the previous screen 1 minute? For a second. Yeah, so there's so many oaths on technical feasibility. So the question is for you. Let's say a designer isn't from a technical background or they don't understand this. How can we reduce this mistake of the technical feasibility issues?
Okay, one nice thing that one easier thing I would say is refer some other apps or some other websites that you use. And ask them, before you get into your design phase, ask them if this is even possible, and can we implement it with our kind of an bandwidth and environment that we have in our office space. Then you would get a clear answer from the developer directly. I think that is how we can improve.
Just one last point, quickly. I think to understand the technical feasibility, one exercise that I did in Lyric is, I sat with my developers. I drew the architecture diagram with them. See, they are not good artists. They cannot make it look good. I can. I have the confidence, right? So I took this as an opportunity to sit with them. Oh, the data is coming from here. It is it's passing in this particular framework. It's going through Kafka, right? So when I was going through that each and everything, I was understanding the architecture and how this works, right? That's how I got to know about in later stage. Oh, this is how API works. This is at least the meaning of it, right? I think that's a very good exercise where we can at least try to understand, and then. I think pretty sure the 45 could come to 10 probably.
Okay, I think we've pretty much covered everything that can be done in the process during a product is being developed. Now we'll just move a little away from this, and since also the time's up, I want to finish it off with one last question. I want to ask this to Bhaarath. How important is bonding outside work important to bond at work?
Okay. I have a 2-minute story quickly. This very important story, very, very resonating story that happened to me. So when I started, after I was a developer, first of all, I don't know how I told you that. So I was working as a developer for 4 years, and then I found passion towards design. So when I started, I was a fresher, and I was making a lot of mistakes as a designer, right? So my company, OpEx Analytics at the time, 2015, my front-end developer was sitting in Russia. So in Russians, generally, they don't speak good English. They learn everything mostly in Russian, and I am coming from a more of a Tamil guy who didn't even speak English good at that time. So it was very hard for me to explain certain concepts to her, and she was struggling a lot, telling that, hey, this is not going to work out. It's very hard, right? So this was going for almost 2 months. and my boss saw this is not gonna work out, right? We have to do something about it, right? So one thing what my company did beautifully is, why not? So either we have to meet in person, either we have to go to Russia, or they have to come here, right? And we didn't have much budget because we are a startup, so all of us couldn't go, right? So we made her come, but there was a catch. She was, as I said, she is a Russian. She was hesitant, and she never traveled across away from her country, right? So she said, "I want to bring my husband also." so we kind of agreed to it. We paid money for her husband as well, and then both of them came, right? So as soon as they landed in India, the first thing we did is like we didn't go to office. So we took a Zoom car. We took her with the other 4 other team. We were a very small team, right? So we took her to a trip of across South Tamil Nadu. Like we took her to Tanjore, Trichy, Srirangam, everything. We showed her culture while going in the car, while going through all this thing, right? We bonded a lot. I mean, it was nothing about work, right? It was just trying to understand. She was telling like what kind of songs they played in her marriage, and it was an English song. And then she and her husband have watched 2010 Indran movie and all. It was basically funny at the time for them. so while understanding this, right? So she understood our world, and I understood her world, right? And then the moment after 2 days we went to office, the magic happened there. And so I kind of understood, okay, English doesn't matter, right? It is just about understanding their world, and the kind of what I wanted to say, she was able to quickly there, right? So basically it was just ego that was sitting between us, and that when that ego went away, I think everything aligned beautifully, right? I think it's very, very crucial that how you guys engage. See, we should not just align with our same comfort zone, right? For example, see, learning the language. It's easy for us to talk in Tamil. When we see some Tamil people, it's very easy to talk, right? What Nadir was telling, when he went to Vietnam, everyone was speaking Vietnamese, he was struggling, right? Similarly, like when we want to explore more out of our comfort zone, it's going to be very hard, right? But unfortunately, you cannot do that in Veliyavana, we can say Hindi theriyadu poda. But in a company, you cannot say that, right? You have to understand their language. Then only, because this collaboration is very, very crucial, right? I think, so a quick call out to all the juniors in the crowd, right? You guys have to talk. There's no other option. As simple as that. Thank you. Yeah.
I think that was a very beautiful story. Now we come to the end of the session, so we got to wrap it up. Yeah. I'm so sorry, I missed it.
So I think the problem is like in a different way. Like if we are all aligned to the product in core, like most of the problems would be automatically solved. So for example, when I started working with my current company, I was using this app way before working with them, because it's a well-known app, and I was having one problem with the app. So basically, if I use Netflix, Amazon Prime, everything works, and I can cast it to my TV. So, but this particular app is not working for me. And once I joined this company, the KT was going for a week, and I was not assigned any task. And I was like, this bug is actually bothering me. Let me get into the code and fix it. So I fixed the cast issue on this app on my first week of the onboarding. And I wanted it badly to release and hit my TV so that I can work on the casting. So this is a user experience, right? I was struggling with it as a user, and I wanted to be fixed. So when you treat the product and you look the product from your user perspective, and if it is bothering you, it will also bother the user. It is not going to affect anyone, right? So just go and fix it, right? Not because your designer is telling to fix it, it's affecting the user, so fix it. So that's how I would see.
Yeah, so 2 nice stories, and now we come to the end of the session. Yaro not nice and long potrikkinga, but paravalla, you stayed through, so thanks a lot. Yeah, so I think we can take one question since we've already ran out of time. One question, we'll open the floor for questions to the audience. We can take up one question. Questions, anybody? Developers? We have some 4 designers here. Yeah, you can bash, you can ask whatever you want. Developers, come on.
Bashing is happening. Not good.
Yes. Yeah, please. Yeah, your good name?
Monish.
Monish. So what do you do, Monish?
I'm a full stack developer.
Okay, yeah. You're good to go.
Yeah, the question I wanted to ask is you all spoke about, design and developers collaborating in huge organizations. So our company is very small and I also do many freelance projects on the side and I want to build projects on my own. So since there are 4 designers there, like, would you suggest any advice for me, like as for people like me, so how they can design their projects well? Because they don't have resources, they are working alone. So how would they go about it?
So you are a developer and you are asked to design. Am I right?
I want to develop my own projects.
Okay.
like
For your
products.
own project, you want to design.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tech part I can take care of. So the design.
Got it. Yeah. This tech part.
I
Yeah.
can go.
You're reaching out for freelancing work?
No. Design work. Like how can I design my products better?
You can
design
hire a
freelance.
designer if that works as an option. You don't want to hire a designer.
Just, I would say just copy other famous websites and famous apps and do your designs.
That is what I have been doing till
Yeah.
now.
That's
I
what
can
we
give you
usually
this.
do, developers. Yeah. Can't help.
That works well.
Okay, I can give a head start. Oh, I don't want the answer.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so basically you said that you are working on a product and you do not have enough resources or a designer to work on your product, right? Yes. So like how Somu mentioned, right? So it's like your product. What is the purpose of going to the user? You need to understand the needs, like the goals that your project has to deliver, right? And then you can also find similar looking competitors, how they are achieving it. Like what is it that they are doing different, that they are like shining, or like what are the takeaways from those competitors, right? So you can try to take those competitors inspirations, not like a rip-off, but it's not just one competitor. You have to be like looking into several other competitors and then have those ideas listed it out. Then you know the user flows. You basically do the algorithms, right? So the same user flow goes onto the screen wise as well. And then while you're going with the screens, there are a lot of, I think, bootstrap components. Even when you're going with Figma also, there are a lot of templates to begin with. So you can even start with those templates and see how they have done that flow. But before that, you need to get your logic, UX flow, everything right. Then you go into the visual part. See how they have done, and you can even take those components. You can begin with this way, like with a small normal feature, you just test it, how it works. And if it's working, you just retrospect yourself, like where you could have spent better, or like you can even get a review with your friends, like can I do something else better, and then you can go with it. I have known many developers like who have done freelancing. They started the project by themselves. They just ask like advice on how to go with the user flows, or how can I create better experience. You need to start using those products, and then you will know how they have created it, and then you will be able to do it. Yeah.
Thanks for the answers.
Read Steal Like an Artist book.
Sorry?
It will give you a lot of insights. Steal Like an Artist.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mandatory read for, doesn't matter what kind of role, designer, developer, backend developer, DevOps developer.
It gives you our secrets.
Yeah, it reveals all the secrets, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the session.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Monish. So yeah, time to wrap this session up, and thanks a lot for being a wonderful audience, and thanks a lot for your patience. Yeah, thank you again. I think we'll wind it up. Yeah, thank you. Thanks again.